Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're doing a complete kids room makeover. To catch you up, Chris and I bought a lake house that needed a lot of work. Our plan is to DIY it one room at a time while staying within a tight budget. And of course, we plan to take you along every step of the way, sharing our best tips for DIYing on a budget. So the room we're going to be making over is a little bit strange and has some weird parts to it. So it was kind of challenging to kind of figure out what to do with this room. But first of all, it has like slanted ceilings because it's up like kind of in an attic style space. It also has no closet. So I needed to add storage to this space, but I also wanted to make it fun and cute and just a really inviting space. So we wanted to start with a blank canvas. So the first thing we did was remove all of the baseboards and door casings. We also took out the existing carpet. This luckily was fairly easy to do, so we removed all the carpet from the room. Next, I wanted to start with a base color, and because I'm going to be painting all the rooms with this home, I decided to purchase a paint sprayer because honestly, it just makes the job so much easier. So I taped off anything I didn't want to get painted. Luckily for me, that really wasn't that much. Like I needed to tape the window and then some areas around the door. Next, I'm going to spray the entire walls. The color I'm using is the color Swiss Coffee at 70%. It took me a while to figure out what kind of floors I wanted to use in this home, but it came down to using luxury vinyl plank. Now, if you don't have any experience with it, we've actually put it in our RV. It's very durable. I thought it would be great for this house to kind of hold up. This was the first room we did in the home, so we were kind of learning as we went how to put these floors in. They're click in place, they're from Home Depot, they're wide planks, so I really like those. I'll put a link to them down in the description box if you're interested in checking them out. So we installed the floors, and I have to say I'm really happy with them and glad we went with this style of luxury vinyl plank. Next, I'm going to install the baseboards, but I wanted this room to have a lot of color, so I'm going to be painting these a pink color. Now, I installed a wall cabinet in this room, and I have an entire video of how I put together this wall cabinet. That will be linked for you as well. But I wanted to paint the baseboards in that same pink color. So the baseboards I grabbed are from Home Depot. I grabbed the same baseboards and then a smaller version for our door casing. And I'm gonna paint those pink. I find it easier to paint before I install them. I'm going to be installing the baseboards with my Roby nail gun. I love this nail gun. I'll link it for you as well. It really does a great job. It doesn't require an air compress. You can use it with a battery and you can get different sizes of nails. I'll touch up paint as well as add caulking around the edges of the baseboards. I also added door casing around the back of the door. Now, you guys probably were wondering what we were going to do with just that random 2x4 and the ceiling fan that was hanging down from there. Not very cute. We decided to take advantage of this and create our own wood beam. We got 2x6 boards and Chris cut them so that they were at an angle. Once he cut the boards, then I went in and stained them. I started with a lighter color stain, kind of the stain that I use for all of my projects, but I decided no, these need to be a bit darker. Then I went in with a darker stain as well. Then he installed these wood beams, and I have to tell you guys, I was not down there when he installed these. I walked into the room and I was like, oh my goodness, these look so good, like way better than I thought they were gonna look. So I absolutely love how they turned out. It was just 3 boards nailed together. We also purchased a new black ceiling fan off of Amazon. It just totally redid this space and I think makes such a statement. We also added a bamboo shade. Now we only have 1 window in this room and we want to get as much light as possible. One of the challenges I faced in this room is the walls are very textured. And so I knew if I was going to be doing any sort of designs, it may be a little tricky, but I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go for it anyways. I can always paint back over it white if I'm not able to make it look good. But I decided I wanted to create a series of arches. So the pink paint that I used for the rest of the room, I actually got sample paints of that in that same color palette. So I went a shade darker, and then I also went 2 shades lighter on the color palette. So I had several colors that I knew were going to coordinate really well together. So that's a tip that you can do if you have a color you like and you want to get other colors that are going to work well, just go a shade darker and a shade lighter on the color palette to add to your room. To make my arches, I knew I was going to have to draw a half circle. So I attached a string to a stationary object, and then I used my pencil to create the top portion of the archway. With the straight lines of the arch, I just used a level that I had to draw down. Then I went in with a brush and cut in the paint. And then for the center portion, I just rolled that on. From there, I created another archway and painted that the same way. And then I finished it off with a third archway. Now, after I painted the third one, I realized that the paint was a little too light. So I actually changed up the color so it worked well with the other colors I had put on the arches. Now, not only did I want this to be decorative, I also wanted it to be functional because in this space, there was no closet. So I wanted to create some hangers. So I found some scrap pieces of door casing and cut those down so that they would fit on my 2 outside archways. I painted those to match the color of the arches. Then I drilled some holes to put in some handles that I had bought off of Amazon. I nailed the boards in place and then screwed in the handles. All right, so I'm really interested in this new line that they have. They're little canvas bags. This one's pretty structured. And then they also have the smaller ones that I just think are adorable. I have an idea for these little guys. I'm gonna get 3 of them. I wanted to make these containers really decorative, and I remembered that I bought this throw blanket that had this really cool trim on it. So this blanket is actually from Five Below. It was only $5. So I'm cutting off the trim, and then I'm going to actually cut the trim in half, and then I'm going to cut tiny little pieces from the trim. I'm actually using these little pieces kind of to look like pom-poms on my container. Next, I'm just going to place the little pieces onto the container, and they matched so perfectly. And I'm going to hot glue each of the little pieces to my containers. Then I'm going to turn it on the side and do the exact same thing. And I'll repeat this same step on the third side. I'm not going to put any on the back just because it's going to be up against the wall. I'm going to repeat this with all three containers. You can add in succulents or anything you like. If you love seeing DIY and home decorating videos, make sure you're subscribed to my channel. I post new videos on Mondays and Thursdays. Next up was adding in my beds. So my vision was to put 2 full-size beds on either side of the window. So I found these adorable pink upholster beds on Amazon, and I have to tell you, the price was so good on these. So I assembled both of the beds. Next, I put in the mattresses and let those rise completely. Now, when I was looking for a nightstand to put in between the beds, like underneath the window, I knew I wanted something that, again, had additional storage, as much storage as we could get in here. So I was shopping around at the Restore, one of my favorite places to look for furniture. I came across this dresser that was $45. I snagged it right away. The first thing I wanted to do was strip off all of the stain on the wood to give it a natural finish. Now, when I was doing this, it was really cold outside and it was not easy to do. So the stripper gel wasn't working great. It got some of the stain off, but in the end, I had to get some really tough 80 grit sandpaper and use my orbital sander and my strength to sand off the entire piece. Now, I will even tell you, on that front edge, I had to go in with a hand sander to do the rest of it. So this piece took me a while to sand, but it was worth it because I love the way it turned out. With the drawers, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I removed the hardware from the drawers. Before I painted them, I went in and sanded them lightly. Again, I went back to that same color palette that I had used earlier on the arches, and I'm going to create an ombre effect. So on each of the drawers, I painted them a different color. Once they had a chance to dry, I added back in the handles. I love these handles. I didn't want to do anything to them because they looked amazing. And to add a little bit something extra, I found this Pioneer Woman shelf paper to put at the bottom, and I added that into each drawer. Then I just placed the dresser in between the 2 beds. Above the beds, I wanted to find some fun prints, and I think one of the best places now to do that is to look on Etsy. I found these like really kind of fun 70s style prints in the pink and yellows that I was going for in this room. I bought both of the prints and I picked up some frames to put the prints in. We hung them in the middle of each of the beds. I had an old family mirror that I also wanted to add into the space as well. It was already spray painted a gold, but I wanted to give it more dimension. So I came in with my rub and buff to just kind of add different colors in there. It really didn't change the piece that much, but it added just a little bit more dimension to the mirror. And I hung this mirror by the door. Let's talk bedding. I wanted to bring in some other colors to my beddings, like some blues and golds, but I didn't want very heavy bedding. So I started with blue sheets. Now again, all of this will be linked down below. Then I went in with this quilt. It had roses on it. It was really pretty, but it was lightweight, so I thought it was perfect in the space. I opted to go with 2 throws just to kind of give it a little bit something extra. And it really added in some additional color. I'm gonna add a pink pillow to the middle as well. Now the bedding I think is pretty minimal, but I think it'll work well in a kid's space. For my nightstand, I wanted to have a nice reading light, so I added in this gold light that I picked up at TJ Maxx and some other accessories that I already had on hand. Now my favorite part of this entire project was styling the rest of the room. I added accessories to my nightstands, to the bookshelves, and here is how the entire space turned out. This was such a fun space to put together. My girls absolutely loved it, and I had so much fun designing it.
Here we go.
I can't wait to show you guys more rooms in this space and how we updated them. I'll talk to you in our next one. Bye.